Shedeur Sanders didn't need to say a word. Rex Ryan's own words did the damage. After blasting the young quarterback with pointed criticism about his readiness and worthiness, Ryan sparked a domino effect that pulled in Cam Newton, Michael Irvin, Kevin Stfansky, and even Roger Goodell.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
By the time Ryan issued his public apology, the situation had escalated far beyond sports talk. The NFL wasn't just listening. It was actively weighing consequences. From the jump, Ryan's remarks rang hollow. He offered no hard data, no credible concerns, just a snap judgment wrapped in outdated bravado. Newton immediately called out for what it was: unfair and uninformed. Irvin doubled down, reminding anyone listening that self-belief in a young player isn't a red flag. It's the entire point. Confidence drives development. Strip that away, and you're undercutting the very thing that gives players like Sanders a shot in the first place. Then Stfansky added weight to the defense. As someone watching Sanders up close, he wasn't having it. He called out the baseless narratives and reinforced that Shedeur had been nothing but committed during training. With that, Ryan's critique began to unravel. And when Roger Goodell's office took notice, the stakes officially changed. League officials reportedly began discussing disciplinary options. That's how far this went. Not because Ryan was mean, but because his commentary crossed a professional line in a high-visibility league that demands better. Ryan's apology came shortly after. Surprise, surprise. He suddenly praised Sanders, acknowledging the very talent he had just questioned. A dramatic reversal. Sure, but also a calculated one. It wasn't a moment of humility. It was a move to stay relevant in a media space that's evolving rapidly. Uninformed hot takes used to be part of the gig. Now they're liabilities, especially when they land you in the league's disciplinary crosshairs. This wasn't just about one analyst getting it wrong. It was a reminder that the NFL's image matters more than ever, and the league is watching how its voices shape that narrative. Ryan's initial comments weren't just unpopular. They were professionally reckless. In a league where every action is under scrutiny, even the commentators are now accountable. And Shedeur? He came out the other side unbothered and, frankly, vindicated. Thanks to a mess he didn't even start. Rex Ryan had a microphone and a target. The target? Shedeur Sanders. The ammunition? Assumptions, not analysis. It was one of those moments where a seasoned voice in the sports world said the quiet part way too loud and way too wrong. Ryan didn't just question Sanders' game. He questioned his very place on the field. He implied the young quarterback wasn't ready, that he wasn't deserving of playing time, that his confidence somehow disqualified him. There was no film breakdown, no stat comparison, just raw skepticism delivered like fact. And that's what turned this from commentary into controversy, because people immediately saw it for what it was, a bad faith critique with no substance to back it up. The backlash wasn't casual, it was seismic. The NFL community, fans, media, and even some of the league's biggest names came out swinging. Not because Sanders is above criticism, but because this particular criticism came from nowhere. And when someone as high profile as Rex Ryan aims that kind of criticism at a young player, especially without evidence, it's not just wrong, it's damaging. Enter Cam Newton. He's been through this cycle before. Loud critics, doubters, analysts treating confidence like a crime. Newton didn't mince words. He called out Ryan directly, reminding everyone that quarterbacks, especially black quarterbacks, have long had to defend not just their game, but their personalities, their expressions, their belief in themselves. Michael Irvin echoed the sentiment, and when Irvin talks, people listen. He made it clear, confidence in your craft isn't arrogance. It's necessary, especially in a league that chews up players who second-guess themselves. Irvin's message was simple. Shedeur's mindset isn't the problem. Rex Ryan's perception is. And then the league itself stepped in. This wasn't just noise on Twitter. The situation drew the attention of top NFL officials, including Commissioner Roger Goodell. There were reports of internal discussions about possible disciplinary action against Ryan, not because of his opinion, but because of what that opinion represented. Reckless commentary, poor judgment, a media voice using his platform to make bold declarations with no factual support. And that's the difference. In this era of constant coverage and viral clips, every word from someone like Rex Ryan is amplified. It sets a tone. It shapes narratives. And the league knows that. That's why this wasn't just another talking head moment. It was an incident big enough for the NFL's leadership to take seriously. The stakes were high. Ryan knew it. His bosses knew it. And the public knew it. That's why the reversal came fast. Ryan backtracked, praised Shedeur, admitted he was wrong. The tone flipped from doubt to admiration, like the previous take had just vanished. But here's the problem. Once the words are out, they don't vanish. They echo. They get replayed, reposted, and remembered. And so, the apology, while necessary, didn't exactly rebuild trust. It felt more like a move made under pressure, not out of reflection. Because the only thing that changed between the original remarks and the apology? Public reaction. But the damage control machine didn't stop there. Ryan's praise was effusive. He highlighted Sanders' talent, potential, and drive. All things that were true the first time he spoke, but conveniently overlooked. And that's the part people can't forget. It's not that Ryan was the only person to ever question a rookie. It's that he questioned this one in a way that felt personal, out of pocket, and entirely unsupported. What makes this whole episode even more telling is the way Shedeur handled it. He didn't react. No tweets. No interviews. No drama. He didn't need to respond because the response around him was so overwhelming. His silence wasn't passive. It was strategic. And in the end, it spoke louder than anything Rex Ryan said. Then came Kevin Stfansky. The Cleveland Browns head coach stepped in with rare clarity. He didn't waffle. He didn't offer vague support. He directly shut down the false narratives being pushed about Shedeur. No, Sanders isn't arrogant. No, he's not difficult. According to Stfansky, Sanders is focused, hardworking, and completely deserving of where he is. When a head coach defends a player that publicly, it doesn't just protect that player. It puts a stamp on the story. Stefanski's words weren't just a counterpoint to Ryan's. They were a correction. A final word from someone who actually sees Sanders' work every day. And that's what makes the original criticism so frustrating. It didn't come from observation. It came from assumption. It wasn't based in fact. It was based in perception, and that's the dangerous part. Because these perceptions, when broadcast on national platforms, can follow players for years. They can affect contracts, fan perception, locker room dynamics. And for what? A spicy take that didn't even land? This wasn't just a bad moment for Rex Ryan. It was a textbook case of commentary without accountability, until the backlash forced it. And now, Ryan's role as an analyst is under the microscope. He'll keep showing up on panels and broadcasts, but the trust? It's fractured. Every take will be measured, every opinion questioned. Because once you make a statement that loud and that wrong, you don't just lose credibility. You lose benefit of the doubt. The real takeaway here is that the sports media world is changing. Fans are smarter. Players have voices. And social media doesn't let false narratives settle in the way they used to. You can't just throw around harsh criticism without receipts and expect to walk away clean. And Shedeur? He moves on. Stronger. More respected. Not because he clapped back, but because he didn't need to. Because his teammates, his coach, NFL legends, and even the league itself had his back. In the end, Rex Ryan's comments didn't derail Shedeur Sanders. They spotlighted him. They turned a moment of unfair scrutiny into an even bigger platform. And instead of buckling, Sanders stood tall, quiet, focused, unbothered. That's a power move. And now, Rex Ryan's voice has an asterisk next to it. Because the next time he tries to assess a young player, viewers will ask, is this coming from insight or impulse? This saga didn't just expose a media misstep. It reinforced a bigger message. Commentary is a responsibility. The days of reckless takes are numbered. And if you're going to critique, you better come with more than attitude. You better come with facts. Let us know what you think in the comments. Did Rex Ryan go too far? Was the apology enough? Or just another media backpedal? And has Shedeur Sanders already proved more in his silence than some commentators have with careers shouting? If you're into the stories where sports drama meets public reckoning, hit that subscribe button. Because in this league, the game never really ends. Not when there are still mics, egos, and receipts. Rex Ryan didn't just make a mistake. He made the mistake. The kind that doesn't just draw criticism. It forces a reckoning. The kind that doesn't just blow over. It lingers. The kind that reminds everyone that in the NFL, words are never just words. When Ryan called out Shedeur Sanders, without stats, without context, and without respect, he did what far too many talking heads have done for far too long. He assumed his platform gave him a free pass to say whatever he wanted, and that his reputation would protect him from fallout. But this time it didn't, because this wasn't just about football. It was about perception, power, professionalism. And when you put those three in the wrong hands, the consequences are bigger than one bad take. They shake the credibility of the entire machine. From the moment Ryan made his remarks, the backlash was immediate, not casual disagreement, not spirited debate. No, this was full volume, league-wide, public pressure. The kind that forces networks into meetings. The kind that sends emails flying through corporate offices. The kind that makes you wonder if maybe that next on-air segment is going to be your last for a while. Because here's what Ryan didn't count on. People weren't just tired of lazy criticism. They were done with it, especially when it comes at the expense of young talent. Especially when that talent happens to be a confident, outspoken, hard-working black quarterback who's doing everything right and still getting hit with disrespect from someone who should know better. Shedeur Sanders didn't provoke anyone. He didn't throw a tantrum. He didn't grandstand. He simply existed, confidently, boldly, in a league that still struggles to embrace black quarterbacks who don't fit into a certain mold. And Rex Ryan's comments? They didn't just sound like analysis gone wrong. They echoed something deeper, something familiar to too many players who've been told to be quieter, humbler, less a distraction. So when Ryan questioned Shedeur's worthiness for playing time, people heard more than a sports take. They heard a throwback to a time when opinion was allowed to trump performance, when old-school personalities could shoot from the hip and never be held accountable. Not anymore. The NFL has changed. The media landscape has changed. And the fan base? They're watching everything. They're not just tuned in for touchdowns and highlights. They're tuned in for the narratives, for who gets hyped and who gets dragged, for how stories are told, and who gets to tell them. That's why Ryan's remarks couldn't hide behind just opinion. Because opinions like his aren't harmless. They shape careers. They impact perception. They can boost a player's confidence or crush it. And in Shedeur's case, it was clear to everyone watching this was a critique. It was a hit job, which brings us to the reaction. And honestly, it was one of the most unified clapbacks in recent memory. Cam Newton, Michael Irvin, countless others, veteran voices, former players, respected analysts, they all came to Sanders' defense. Not because Shedeur needed protection, but because the entire football world recognized what was happening. A rising talent was being publicly dragged with no justification. Cam Newton knows the script well. He lived it, the constant double standards, the judgment of character over capability. So when he saw Rex Ryan doing the same to Shedeur, he didn't stay silent. He called it out, not just as a bad take, but as part of a broken system that punishes confidence in black quarterbacks while celebrating in others. Michael Irvin backed that up with force. His message was simple. You don't get to define a young man's career with one reckless sentence. You don't get to label someone unready or undeserving without receipts. And you definitely don't get to call it analysis when all you brought to the table is attitude. And then, once the fire had grown too big to ignore, Rex Ryan did what people in his position always do. He reversed course. Publicly, dramatically, and under clear pressure. He praised Shedeur's talent, walked back the comments, claimed he'd reevaluated his stance. But by then, no one was applauding the pivot, because the timing made the motive obvious. Rex didn't come to this realization on his own. The apology didn't come from reflection. It came from repercussion. Let's be honest. When league officials, including Commissioner Roger Goodell, Start monitoring a situation, you're in trouble. When internal conversations start about disciplinary action, you don't have room to double down. You have to surrender. And that's exactly what Ryan did. But while he was apologizing on camera, something else was happening quietly. Shedeur Sanders was rising. Without saying a word, without engaging in any public drama, Sanders let the support speak for him. His teammates, his coach, the legends of the game, they were louder than Ryan's original comments ever were. And when Browns head coach Kevin Stfansky stepped in, that was the exclamation point. Stfansky didn't just vouch for Shedeur. He dismantled the entire narrative. He rejected the idea that Sanders was narcissistic. He emphasized his dedication, his focus, his respect in the locker room. He gave the kind of endorsement that analysts wish they could manufacture. And that's when it became clear. The real story here wasn't Rex Ryan's apology. It was Shedeur's silence. His refusal to participate in the drama. His decision to keep his head down and continue proving himself on the field. That's not just maturity. That's power. Because in a media landscape that thrives on response, Sanders didn't give them one. And that restraint made Ryan's apology look even weaker. It highlighted the contrast between the two. One man scrambling to save face, the other staying focused on the game. And the game noticed. Rex Ryan might have survived this fallout, but his role is different now. His words aren't trusted in the same way. His credibility has a permanent dent. And the next time he tries to call out a player, you can bet people will ask, based on what? Meanwhile, Shedeur has earned more than just a redemption arc. He's earned respect, not for clapping back, not for firing off a quote, but for staying composed while the NFL world defended him louder than he ever could have defended himself. This saga will go down as more than a hot take gone wrong. It's a warning shot at every analyst out there. Bring the facts, or be prepared to face the fire. Because the days of unchecked commentary are over. You want to criticize a player? Fine. But bring more than volume. Bring substance. Bring accountability. And most importantly, know the weight your words carry. So what's next? Rex Ryan will keep talking. He'll keep giving takes. But every single one will now come with a shadow. A memory of the moment he got it wrong, badly, the moment he had to face the very power he once thought he could wield without consequence. And Shedeur Sanders? He'll keep working, keep growing, keep proving. And if there's anything the last few weeks have shown us, it's that he doesn't need a microphone to make his presence known. He's already arrived. And here's what's wild. Rex Ryan probably thought this would all blow over. He likely assumed the usual cycle would play out. Say something provocative, take the backlash, maybe offer a half-hearted walk back, and keep it moving. But that's not what happened this time. Because what he underestimated, badly, was the power of today's NFL audience. We're not passive anymore. We remember who says what. We check receipts. And when someone like Ryan fires off a baseless critique of a player like Shedeur Sanders, the reaction isn't just a one-day outrage. It's a full-blown accountability movement. That's exactly what this turned into. Not just a disagreement over football potential. Not just a spicy soundbite gone too far. It became a moment where fans, players, media, and even league officials collectively said, "We're done letting this slide." Because Rex Ryan didn't just question a quarterback's readiness. He questioned Shedeur's right to exist confidently in the league. His confidence? Framed as ego. His poise? Labeled as narcissism. His presence? Undermined by someone who offered no real evidence. Just volume. That's where people drew the line. And the fact that this came from someone with Ryan's resume made it even worse. A former NFL coach, with a deep understanding of what it takes to succeed in the league, going after a young player without even pretending to back it up, that wasn't just lazy, it was reckless. It wasn't football commentary. It was character assassination. And let's be clear, Shedeur Sanders didn't ask for this. He wasn't starting drama. He wasn't calling people out. He was simply existing, doing his job, and navigating a league where young black quarterbacks already carry more scrutiny than they should. So when Ryan's comments aired, it hit harder than your average "he's not ready yet" opinion. Because it wasn't just about football. It was about who gets to speak with authority and who gets to be doubted for simply being themselves. And then came the collective response, swift, vocal, and unrelenting. Cam Newton didn't hold back. He's lived this, been dissected for his wardrobe, his body language, his celebrations. So when he saw Shedeur being dismissed, he called it what it was, a double standard, a lazy, outdated lens being used to tear down a young man who had done nothing to deserve it. Michael Irvin followed, hammering the same message. This wasn't about Shedeur's talent. It was about an analyst rejecting his discomfort with a confident player and disguising it as insight. Irvin, like Newton, reminded everyone that confidence isn't arrogance. It's survival. And undermining that confidence publicly with no cause, that's not tough love. That's sabotage. And then the NFL made their move. Not publicly at first, but the reports were clear. This controversy had reached the top. Roger Goodell and league officials weren't just aware. They were concerned. They started monitoring the situation. Discussions of discipline were on the table. And that's rare. That only happens when a comment threatens the integrity of the league's image. And in this case, it did. Because if a commentator as prominent as Rex Ryan could say something like this, without consequence, what message does that send to other analysts? To fans? To young players trying to earn their spot? The league had to draw a line. And that pressure, it hit Rex hard. So he walked it back. Fast. He praised Shedeur. He highlighted his talent. He tried to reframe the narrative he himself created. But by that point, the damage was done. The original take had already defined the moment. An apology? It didn't erase it. It just confirmed the backlash worked. Ryan didn't change his mind. He changed his strategy. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders kept his mouth shut and his head down, and the football world respected it. He didn't get petty. He didn't post cryptic quotes. He didn't demand apologies. He let others speak for him. And that silence, it echoed louder than Ryan's rant ever did. Because real ones don't need to clap back. They let the truth handle it. And then, like a mic drop, came Kevin Stfansky. His statement wasn't defensive. It was declarative. He didn't just defend Shedeur, he validated him. He painted the picture that Rex refused to see. A player who shows up, works hard, respects the locker room, and belongs exactly where he is. Stfansky didn't correct a narrative. He destroyed it. So now, Rex Ryan carries that asterisk. He'll keep talking, but he'll never fully shake this. Because the next time he critiques a player, people won't just listen. They'll remember. And they'll ask, is this real? Or is this just Rex being Rex again? And Shedeur? He walks away from the storm with more respect than he had going in. He didn't just survive the moment. He owned it without saying a word. That's what we call poise. And it's something you can't teach in a broadcast booth. Let us know what you think in the comments. Was Ryan's apology enough? Should there be stronger consequences for reckless commentary? And did Shedeur just show the entire league what it means to lead without saying a single thing? Make sure to subscribe for more sports drama, media chaos, and reputation resets. Because in this league, the next explosion is always just one microphone away.